Hello, this is Group High Five. I am Zsolt Krompaczki, and in this video I'm joined by my partner, Sutton. In this video we'd like to demonstrate our project, which is the Remote Shell project for system software module. In this first part I will introduce the code, the database, the documentation, and in the second half my partner Luke is going to give a more practical demonstration of how the program works. So let's get started. First and foremost, I would like to introduce you to our repositories. We have two repositories, one for the client and one for the server. So for all intents and purposes, this is the same single project, except we split the client away from the server to ease in generating jar files and to ease in running these two the client and the server together at the same time. And for convenience sake, I have included the jar files in these folders, in these out folders, also in the client. Of course, the project is written in Java, and the predominant we have used IntelliJ IDE, although it also works in NetBeans, as I will demonstrate right here. Yes, we can try and run the server. As you can see, it runs without any errors, and we can then try and run the client. Again, runs, builds without any errors, and the server recognizes that a new client has connected. Unfortunately, the NetBeans terminal is a little bit glitchy, which is part of the reason why we have switched over to IntelliJ IDEA, because that's not supposed to happen. So I will demonstrate now. We have a doxy file, doxy-config, to generate documentation if you would like to generate your own documentation. Otherwise, we have already pre-generated it here. Okay, as you can see, we have the diagram, and all the variables and methods are explained here through the use of the comments in the code. And I would also like to demonstrate our database. We are using my SQL, which runs through the LAMP server, which runs through the Docker LAMP server. The table is pretty simple. We just have a table called users, and the structure is very simple. We just have 3 columns: user, password, and user type of type varchar. The password length is longer than these other two to facilitate the encrypted password lengths. As you can see, we have some users already in the database. Of course, we have the root user with the root password, and the password is encrypted using the shell. So now I would like to show you the code. So we'll start off with the client class. The client class is very simple. It's just a main method with a while loop in it, which basically just facilitates the transmission and receiving of messages between the server and the client. So as you can see, we receive messages from the server here using a socket, and then over here we send messages. And we have some custom functionality here. For example, if we're trying to log in, then we're using this console, the read password functionality to hide away the password. This is why I recommend running the client as a jar file instead of running it in an IDE, because the terminal inside an IDE isn't recognized as a console, and it will throw an error in this particular line. And then we also have the quit functionality, which would close the client. Of course, we have some error handling, and we have some exception handling as well. And the way we generate jar files in IntelliJ is through the build artifacts right here, this is how we generate jar files. And I would now like to show you the server code. The server code is also very simple. It's just a main method with a while loop. And whenever a client connects, each client gets assigned its own thread. So that makes our project multi-threaded. And that means that multiple clients can connect to this one single server and run in parallel. And then the thread code is basically here. As you can see, extends thread. First and foremost, we'll start off with some global variables. Of course, the working directory is stored in this working directory variable. We start off with the guest user without any super privileges. The command history gets stored in this vector. Database information can be found here, so the database name, the table name, the username, and the password are here and can be modified if needed. Here are the Doxygen comments, and also for safety, pretty much every variable and method is private and cannot be accessed outside of this class for safety's sake. Of course, because this is a thread, we don't have a main method, we have a run method, and we have another while loop here, which again facilitates the sending and receiving of messages between the server and the client. This is the prompt message, and we get a string from the client, and we run our first method called parse input with it. So the structure is pretty simple, pretty much cascades. It just goes from top to bottom. And so we have the parse input method, which takes the input string from the client and splits it into tokens, into this array list called tokens. So if we have, for example, a command called move mv with the two arguments, the source and destination, and they get split up into the command and the argument 1 and the argument 2, which makes it much easier to work with. And also we have two lists here with the external commands and the other with the built-in commands. So for safety's sake, we cannot run commands outside of these lists, so any other command that's not in this list will not be recognized and ran. And then we have some basic error management down here. So if the input strength is 0, or if the command is unrecognized. Otherwise, we delegate them to the appropriate methods, such as run bash command, or if the user has super privileges, we run super command, or otherwise we run the run built-in command. And then for external commands, we have this method run bash command, which uses process builder to run them, and of course after we pass them the array list, we pass it the array list of tokens, and then we will get a string return, which goes all the way back up and then to the client. And then we have some dispatcher methods, such as run built-in commands, which will run the appropriate built-in methods based on what command the user has ran. And another for super commands. And then we have some built-in commands here, of course. We have some more error checking, so if we don't have invalid arguments or if the credentials don't exist. And of course, most of these methods get past the list of tokens. And we have logoff, who am I, move, copy. We have the CD, which I tried my best to mimic the Linux shell CD, which recognizes whether we are using absolute or relative path. So if we do cd dot dot, it will go up a folder or directory, or if we do cd test directory, it will go into the test directory. We don't have to use full paths all the time, although if we use them it will still work. Show here we have a help method, which is basically a string with all the commands and how to run them. Add user, del user, change pass for the super privilege, change user type, display history, and quit, which closes the socket. And then we have some miscellaneous utility methods here. Set up directory on log off and on log in. Zipdir, which uses the zip library functions, the archive and extract archives. Add colors to string, which wraps strings in these ANSI tags. Add the history, and then we have some database methods which interact with the MySQL website. Database. So connect the database, validate user, encode and decode password, which we use to encode and decode passwords from the database. Add data to database, delete data, update password, and update user type. And I will now leave you to my partner Luke, who will demonstrate the program more practically. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Zsolt. Okay, it's my turn. So hopefully in front of you can see my screen and my face. We've got the server going to be running on the right, and we've got the client on the left over here. So I'm doing it this way just so you can see that it doesn't matter if you run it in the Java or the IDE. Preferably the server is in the IDE, but it's whatever you want. You need to make sure this is correct for your database. Apart from that, you just run it and you'll get this little information here, which you've been shown before. And then here, we just need to do java-jar with the name. Okay, and then we can see it's connected. Okay, so we've got our first connection, right? I'm going to quickly go through the folders. So you're going to have remote shell, which is where most of the files are going to be. Remote shell client is where the client's stored, and the project is where the project's stored. So if we go into the shell, you can see we're currently guest here, so you can see our name and where we're at. So we're in here. So if we do list, you can see these directories. We can't get out of here, so we're not able to get into the actual shell itself and see anything else. We can't even access these from the computer without logging in. You won't be able to access any of the files. You can see the names, but you can't access anything else, which is quite a nice feature. But as soon as we log in, so if we log into me here, there you go. You can see it's unlocked, and now we have files in here. So I'm going to be mainly focusing on the built-in commands, because the process builder commands are quite simple, but we will just quickly show a few of them. So as I said before, we've got these files here. So if we do copy file 1 into new dir, because currently there's nothing in here, I don't think. Oh, there is. Let's remove those first, and let's run that. Okay, you can see file 1's here, so it's still in here as well. If we do move file 3 into new dir, we're going to have file 3 in here, and no longer file 3 here. Okay, if you ever want to see commands, you just type in help, which is one of the most useful commands we've got. So in the white, you've got the name, description, and then syntax. So we've been using list already. We've been using copy and move. We can make directories and remove directories easily. We can print the processes, which I can do for you now, sure. And then we've got other commands. These ones onwards are built-in commands. So these are the ones we've actually done ourselves. So I've already logged in. I can log out and show you logging out. Log off. Okay, and now we're back in the guest directory. So this gets zipped back up. You can delete this, and then you're done. And then you can't access the files anymore. They're all locked again. You see. So moving on from this, I'm going to show you multiple clients at the same time because we want to be multi-threaded, right? So let's get up these. So let's just get up 3. That'll do. We're in the right place. Java-jar with remote shell client jar. Java-jar. Remote shell client jar. Okay, and I think we've already got some accounts set up. So user 1, user 2, user 3. So let's just log in to user 1 on here. User 1, password's probably pass. Yep. Log in to user 2, password's probably pass. Okay, so I think these are just set up as standard accounts at the moment. And let's log back into my main account here. If I can type correctly. Luke. There you go. Okay, I am in. So there's certain super commands we can try here. So we can do super change user type, user 1, super. There you go. So now user 1 is super. So because we store super when we log in and log out, you need to log off and then you need to log back in to be able to access the super command. So now we can do super change user password. I think that's how you do it. Let's quickly use the help command. Change pass. You don't need to put user. Let's do user 2, and let's change their password to pass2. There you go. So now if we logged off on this one and try and log in, if we use pass like we were before, we're going to get invalid credentials. So that's why we need to log in and use pass2. There you go. The password's not going to show up obviously, but I am typing. And that's all hidden away. Okay, carrying on with some of the other commands. We've got show dir. It's going to show you the directory you're in, even though you can already see it already here. But if you explicitly want to see it for some reason. And then we've got help, which we've already discussed, and we've got history. So history will show you all the previous commands that have been run on this certain shell, which is quite useful to see. And then we've also got quit, which is going to quit the whole program completely, and it's going to successfully disconnect you over here in the server. So you can have, we've tried it with up to, I think it's 10, 15 clients, it's still fine, still normal. The tests are in the Word document if you ever want to look at that. Is there anything else I need to go through? We've been through the process builder commands, we've talked about the zipped files, we've talked about most of the normal commands, we've shown all of those commands out working. We've shown me moving and copying files, we talked about multiple clients. We talked about the password here for the database. You've already been shown the database result. But apart from that, that is everything from us. Hope you've enjoyed the demonstration. If you have any questions or anything, you can send us an email. It's on the Word document for all the documentation. Thank you.